born and brought up in Delhi, and we often have these debates of Delhi versus Bombay. That's never gonna end. And I wish I think as a city I love Delhi, but now because of the kind of work I do, Bombay's also become like a second home. And I wish I could pick the whole industry up and put it in Delhi. That would be great. We have more space there, I feel. But the move from Delhi to Mumbai, I think, was not planned in my case. Initially, I never thought of becoming an actor. I was always into studies. I was a very, very studious kid. I was into dance, but I never thought that would ever help me in life. I was doing my BTech when just randomly some people told me that, you know, you've got a great height, I think you should try for modeling. And my first reaction was like, I don't want to become a model. And then in my head I thought, why not? You know, I can try. Like, if nothing else, it'll just be an experience. I think so many times we shy away from a lot of things because we start thinking about future and how it's going to help us and how it'll be useful or not useful. I think sometimes you just need to just go out there and try things. That's when you realize what you like, what you don't. So I started modeling and I started getting a lot of like TV commercials. I had never like done anything related to acting before that. So I didn't know whether I could or not. And while I was doing the TV commercials, which don't require too much of acting, but I felt I enjoyed it. I felt I enjoyed the shooting process. I had the opportunity of working with a few directors like Shujit Sarkar and all during my TV commercial period, where they sort of encouraged me and they said, you know, you have that acting thing in you. So just explore it, don't let it just go, and see what you like, see if you like it. And I did, and I moved to Mumbai after I completed my BTech. I had 3 job offers in my hand. It was a little hard to convince my parents, but I think they've always supported me, which is the reason why I am here today. So yeah, that was my move from Delhi to Mumbai.
Adil, what about your ability to be in Delhi and still be as prolific as you are in Mumbai and various other film fraternities?
Delhi had been I took my rebirth in Delhi when I went to study at the National School of Drama. I didn't know the word aesthetics in English. And when I was doing a class and I was told that I will be taught what aesthetics or aesthetic mean, I was like, what is this word? And then anyway, so NSD had been the place where I said in the last day of my class that I was reborn here, and it became my home. I'm emotionally connected to National School of Drama. I started teaching there since 1998. And roads are wider, as she said, and houses are a little wider, and you get wonderful street food,
all kinds of
paratha. And also the fact that I wanted to stay away from the glamour and the glitter of the paraphernalia of filmmaking, because I love acting. And after that, I should have nothing to do with anything else, ideally. Like, this part is not my favorite part. Because it takes me away from the prime reason why I have entered to act. And acting is something that I can be in for hours and days and months and years. And then after that, I should be excused and let the producers take over and sell the film, because that's their job, not my job. So I stayed away, and it also saves me from lots of narrations. And so Delhi had been a savior in terms of the kind of film that I would like to be in. And thankfully, being in Delhi, I had been doing films from across the globe. And so Delhi had been a boon for me.
And fortunately, you don't get papped everywhere.
I don't get what?
You don't get papped everywhere you step out.
Absolutely, yeah. That's like that's the first thing my wife told me when I decided to act in English for English. Are you sure you want to act in this kind of films? Because you will not be able to go out on the street and have a cup of tea. Because I love it, I like to be on the street, and so I said, well, out of that fear, I cannot but not act, So I said, okay, I'll do it. But thankfully, I've grown my beard now, so it's better for me. Thank you.
Well, that brings me to, when was the last time you went out and got tea on the street?
Got tea on the street? I recently had pani puri on the street.
Where were you guys?
In Andheri, in Mumbai, yeah.
I haven't seen that photo, so
Thankfully,
these guys are not doing that.
We still find our ways to not get papped.
Well, that brings me to one thing that I find quite interesting about you both, that you started your career in film, straddling both the Telugu film industry, working with Mahesh Babu and Chaitanya Nag, and in between with Tiger, and you straddle various formats of various languages. So how does that happen? Like, to be as prolific as you guys are in some very, for you, big, large-scale films, and for you to, of course, like work with Meera Nair and Ang Lee, and you have your Norwegian film now at the Oscars, and so how does that happen?
He said so much, I've forgotten the question only.
How do you straddle various film fraternities and manage to be as prolific?
With me, I wasn't like really, I was starting out, and I didn't have any particular thing in mind that, okay, this is how I want to start. I got a great opportunity down south in Telugu opposite Mahesh Babu, and I think with me the best things have really come out of the blue suddenly. It's never been planned. It's like, I sometimes feel you do choose films, but sometimes the films do choose you. That particular film, they were already shooting with another actor, and then there were some issues, and suddenly they were looking for a newcomer. And it came to me, and I grabbed the opportunity, and it was a great experience. I think a lot of people keep asking me, what is the difference, between working in Telugu film industry and working in Hindi film industry? And genuinely, I didn't really find a difference except for the language. Except I can obviously chat a lot more on set when I'm working in Hindi film industry, because I connect with the language, and then I had to really use my memory skills that engineering gave me to mug up the dialogues, because I didn't know the language. But apart from that, I think both the industries and people working are equally passionate, equally into their job, wanting to make something beautiful, something magical. And in fact, the technicians, I feel, are working all across, Hero Panti, the whole cameraman department, the whole DOP department was Telugu. So I genuinely felt like there was no difference, but thankfully I did get to experience both the worlds, with their slight differences and similarities. And it really taught me a lot very early in my career. So I'm glad for that.
What was the question?
Just how do you manage to, switch off and switch on from, the Assamese films, your Hindi films, your Ang Lee film, and,
The common factor is acting, and I think that I don't find any difference in terms of the creative pursuit of the directors and the team, in terms of different films. The only difference I find working in a production from the West is that they're very precise with their planning. And they're quiet on the set. And so in films, when we do here, we don't also have the culture of shooting a film with sync sound, location sound. So that sort of is the culture. So I have to, and I come from theater. So theater, when we do rehearsals, nobody talks and nobody makes even sound. When, it's a serious business, sort of. So I had to get out of that and found a way. So that helped me to 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 understand what concentration is in a very relaxed way. Otherwise, I was a fanatic, militant kind of a guy before that, because everybody has to be quiet, and I realized I can't shut the world. I have to find a way to find my inner quietude amongst the chaos which happens. So apart from these two, that they're very precise with their planning, and should they start counting the hours, like they have a countdown system. And
they have an off every it's a compulsory
5 days
off.
a week,
yeah.
and so it's very nice. So you have the weekend for yourself, and yeah. So I don't think there is any other difference. And so you basically, as an actor, what I have been taught by my great teachers, that you fit into a patra, and you have to be palpable, fluid, and transparent enough to fit into any kind of patra, and that patra means vessel. So in the vessel you fit, and you also fit into the vessel when you work in Bombay. That is a different kind of a vessel as an actor to fit in, and then the role that you are playing. And then when you are somewhere in Norway shooting for a Norwegian film, then you realize that, oh, nobody's there to give me a cup of tea as well. So chai kahan milta hai yaar? So you have to go and get yourself tea, and you have to, do everything by yourself. And so you have to fit into that vessel, that the actors do their things there. You don't have an entourage that traveling with you, doing all sorts of things, unless, of course, you're Tom Cruise or someone, I don't know. So, yeah, it's just little tiny adjustments, and that's the business of an actor.
I'd love to ask you, since
Me?
yeah.
I thought he was the moderator.
That's okay. We can swap positions sometimes. You've done films in so many different languages. Did you always know the language, or have you? No. So have you also had to like mug up and go with it, or you tried learning it?
I did one Tamil film, one Malayalam film, and Marathi.
Are you good with languages in
Assamese?
general?
No, I'm fluent in Assamese, Bengali, Hindi, and English, hopefully. And rest of the languages that I had worked in, I had to mug up the lines, but I had to understand each and every word that I spoke.
Yeah. So when I had gone to Telugu industry, my first film, before that, a lot of people told me, no, you just have to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, they'll figure it out. I said, but how can you say 1, 2, 3, 4 for everything? But that was a myth. When I reached there, I realized that I had pages of dialogues, and my director was such that he used to change dialogues on set. And after a point, he told me, you have gotten 87% in BTech, which is why I've taken you. You have great memory. So I think that becomes a bit difficult at times, because you don't know what you're saying and you can't improvise at all.
That's the reason also I have decided not to act in the other, like Tamil, Telugu and Malayalam films. I wish I knew the language, because Tamil, I think, is one of the most richest language and amazing literature they have written. But the reason I said no to other Tamil and Telugu films, because I thought I don't enjoy it.
You can't go with the flow.
Yeah.
You can't improvise, you can't add things. And if by chance your actor has said his lines aage piche, so you're gone, because you don't know where to start.
So actually, let's talk more about craft then. What is your craft process? How do you prepare yourself, not just for these languages that you don't necessarily speak, but generally on a...
I think I find these words really heavy, to be honest, because I never planned on becoming an actor earlier. I've never really done workshops or done theatre to actually learn. And my learning has more or less been on my job. So I think I have, through the films that I have done till now, I've slowly tried to find what works for me, what doesn't work for me, what is my method, what is my process. Initially, I realized that, okay, I can't maybe dig into an emotion that I have experienced at some point in my life and get it here. That's something I'm sure of. Like, I had heard that people sort of think of something that they've gone through, and someone who died in their family, and the feeling that they went through, and they start crying there and then. I tried it, it didn't happen. I used to sometimes like fight with my mom in the vanity and I'm in a very bad mood and I come on the set, but I can't get that back. So I realized that that doesn't happen with me. For me, what works more is to be where I am right now as the character. To go back and think what the character has gone through. Where the character is coming from. What kind of a person she is. I think when I try and zone myself in all that, it works for me way more. I felt as a person, maybe I am, somebody told me there's a difference between being emotional and being sentimental. When you're emotional, it's way deeper. You don't let go of the feelings too soon. When you're sentimental, you cry on the drop of a hat. You get affected immediately, but you can also sleep over things. You can also move on. I think I'm more sentimental, which is why this sort of spontaneous and on the spot and feeling it in the moment kind of works for me more. But again, this is also something I have sort of learned through the years. I think one film that did make me grow a lot, although the film didn't work, I would say is Rabta. Purely because I think that was the first time I really prepared a lot. I had the time to prep for a character. Before that, I didn't get the time to prep for any character. The character was a little complex, a little layered. I had someone who was pushing me, Dinu, through like finding myself and breaking the way I think. So, Shah Rukh's also once told me that there's no right way of doing a scene. There can be many ways. It's what you look at and how you choose. So I think I've, over the time, started thinking differently. When I approach a scene, there is always one direct way of approaching it, which is the most obvious way. But then as an actor, you also want to do something exciting and something different in it, so you keep thinking constantly and find, okay, how else can I say this, which is not very generic. I think I try and find that in every scene. So yeah, so far that's been what I know of my process. I hope I figure out more.
Adil, for you.
It's very, very interesting to hear her because I guess from you're looking at it, you're 25 or...
I'm a little more, but I'll take that
21.
right now.
No, because I remember when I was 25 and, it keeps changing. I mean, she's so apt on that you have to find your own way, finally. But the only difference that I feel when you train yourself, not necessarily in an institution, but, in the process of working itself on the job, the difference would be that if I want to be a doctor, and I would have to go to medical college, not because otherwise you can't be a doctor. You can be a doctor, you might not get a degree, but you'll be a doctor, and you might become a fantastic doctor. But the reason, because there's always a debate whether you should go to an institution or not, so the difference I find is that if you go to a medical college, you will get all sorts of patients to experiment on. Otherwise, if you are attaching yourself with a great doctor, then all kinds of different kinds of diseases which may not come to that doctor, and you might not be able to expose yourself to different. So in an institution, what happens that you are exposed to, say, when we did Shakespeare, someone came from England. When we did Chekhov, someone came from Russia. When we did Goldoni, someone came from Italy. So, but then, coming back to your question, that I was a fanatic, militant method actor, and then Nasiruddin Shah was my teacher in NSD, and he used to taunt and, very sarcastic, the method actor has come, something like that. So, over the years it changed to, I would say, an Indian system. So when I say Indian system, what I mean by that is that in classical Indian, is it becoming too technical and boring for you? Then I won't go to the details. There are at least someone who said he's interested. Because in Indian system, there is a word called, that you give in, you surrender. Now, what do you surrender to? You know all the different kinds of techniques, but at the same time, like what do you do innocently in the beginning of your career? I had gone through all that and coming back to that. So that's so beautiful. But I would also suggest to young actors, if they're here, that don't follow this, what I am telling you now, because it's dangerous also. Also, it depends upon what kind of actor one wants to become. If you are an actor who would like to bend the personal characteristics according to the need of the role, then it's a different kind of acting. But most of the actors in India and across the globe as well, that they bend the characters according to their personality. So they are called personality actors, right from Clint Eastwood to any name you say in Indian, apart from very few. So if you are happy with that, playing yourself again and again, not playing yourself even, playing the image of yourself which gets sold in the market, and then you keep playing that, and if you're happy with that, then absolutely nothing like it. But somehow I got drawn to acting towards the kind of acting that I've seen Dustin Hoffman in Papillon in 1983, that I did not realize that he was an actor. I thought these are real people picked up from the street and made to act. Then I saw him in Kramer versus Kramer and Rain Man. I was like, oh my God, what, this guy is the same guy? It's unrecognizable. So that sort of broke my spell from personality actor to character actor, who changes the traits, personal traits and characteristics according to the need of the character. So now I found a way, which is, I can't even explain, that you do not think of how you're going to do this role. So it's very difficult not to think about how you do it. Because all the thoughts that bombard, your mind, and you constantly come up with brilliant ideas that, oh, this is how I'm going to do it. And then that's the thought that you should instantly put it in the toilet and flush it. That don't entertain those thoughts. So that's the stage I'm in now, that I read the script again and again and again and again, and not think about how to do it. And that gives me a nightmare not to think, because am I not preparing? I'm not preparing. So but it's happening. So that's, I call it the Indian way, that I try my best to hand over to the goddess of creativity, at the risk of being called a esoteric, actor, but I'm there now. Like, I do not think about it, and somehow it works for me.
That's great.
But don't try it at home.
Because sometimes when you think that, okay, this is how I'm going to do the scene, and you go on set, and you suddenly see the director seeing it very differently.
Totally different, exactly.
And you're like, oh crap, I was not prepared for this.
So, but there is a very great a person who inspired me a lot. His name is Jerzy Grotowski. He's a Polish theater actor, director, philosopher, Methodist. He said that as soon as you think how to do it, you are planting the seed of banality. That you can only do, or you can only think of something which you have seen somewhere, other actors doing it. So that's the worst way to go ahead. So something fresh, which is, we can call it creativity, that means that I haven't done it, I haven't experienced it, I haven't seen it before. So that does not happen when you think and you do. But then this instrument has to be ready in order to receive those impulses and translate it into vocal and physical language. So that takes a bit courage, I guess.
Well, now
I still shiver in my pants all the time. I'm like, is it going to happen or not?
Well, I think one other question, since now you live in Delhi and you hate narrations, or you are able to avoid,
I don't hate narrations.
or you're able to avoid.
Like too many of them.
How do you guys pick the roles that you're going to do next? I think for a lot of the writer-directors in the audience, that's an interesting thing to understand.
I think there's no formula to it, I feel. For me, I think it's always been more instinctive. When I'm hearing a script, there has to be something that attracts me to it. Firstly, I sometimes try to think as Janta. Like, I feel I hear a script or I read a script and I feel, is this a film I would want to watch, firstly? If the answer is yes, then I think I move on to other things like, you know, how the character is it attracting me? Is it going to be exciting for me as an actor to play? Or sometimes even there's certain people involved in a particular project who you really want to work with. And, you know, you really want to experience and maybe learn from them. So I think all films sometimes have a different reason of why you say yes. But as long as you know what the reason is, I think it's fine to go with whatever you're feeling.
With me, similar, very similar. Pretty, I won't say instinctive, I would use the word intuitive. Because I feel like, strongly feel I get connected to the role or the story. And I have to like the director when I speak to the person that I am going to spend a few days of my life with these people, so it can't be a brick. So
how do you guess that in the first meeting?
I have a meeting and I have to like the person, otherwise I don't, because I'd rather go and cook for my wife and my child than spending time on the set with people I don't like. It's as simple as that. Apart from that, I think something that script talks about that I haven't done before, and which is relevant, which is a bit layered at least, but it's very difficult to find script which talks about human behavior and the complexity of human behavior, which is very difficult to find. But I've been lucky to get few from different parts of the world. So yes, and that's that. And if I have the time, and sometimes if the money is good, sometimes in micro-budget film also I acted. Recently acted in a film in a Khasi language. The budget was 16 lakhs. So my mode of transport in the city of Shillong was a scooty, which was also my vehicle that I use, the character uses. So yeah.
How is it working with women directors? Was that different? Like you?
Not at all. The only difference was I could go and sit on a lap while the shoot was going on. That was the only difference. There's no difference, guys. I really feel that a director, according to me, needs to know how to take the story forward and what each and every character is feeling at that point. A film eventually is a director's vision. So I don't think, a lot of people say that, women are more emotional, women are more sensitive, so they would understand feelings more. If you don't understand feelings, you cannot become a director. I feel it's very, very important to understand what every character is feeling and how you want to take the story forward and what do you want the audience to be feeling at that particular time. So yeah, there was absolutely no difference. Ashwini also is someone who, she would like, if say there was one shot where we were shooting on a balcony, so she had to be slightly closer to see what's happening. And there was this tempo park, so she's gotten on top of the tempo and she's sitting with the monitor on top of a tempo. So she was really hands-on. She would be running here and there, she would be at it. So I never felt that, there's a female director directing. Apart from when I used to go and sit on her lap behind the monitor. But that's about it.
Did you do the same? Sit on their lap? Or
No, I'll be in trouble. 377 has just been struck off, so... one of my very, very dear directors sitting in the audience, Sriram Raghavan, who directed me in a film called Agent Vinod. And I couldn't go and sit on his lap because he would not like it. And I would
maybe now you can attempt.
The only difference I find, I mean, you're right saying I don't have to approve of, like, you're right. Of course, what I'm trying to say is that the only difference I found when I worked with women director is that there is a certain grace in the set. I'm not saying it's always the case, but most of the time, yes. There is certain, Yeah, elegance, and the way that they would look at a role would have more empathy and compassion. Um, the people that I worked with. And there's a view that as we grew up in a very patriarchal society, um, art had played a very important role in my life to make me go towards my feminine side.